Welcome to Just the Two of Us Homestead. We are Colleen and Frank, and we live in the perfect size homestead just for us in southwestern Quebec. Gardening, growing food, and preserving is one of our passions. And our barn animals, we love them so much, they're just like pets. And we're so fortunate to be able to live our lives as we do. Each and every day is a blessing. Hi everyone. Today's preservation project is ketchup. And it's the best ketchup. And I know everybody says that, but I'm telling you, it's the best ketchup. It is the Dijon of Heinz. And it's going to taste like Heinz, but even better. And I made a video of it last summer, so I'm going to link it down below, because for the Every Bits Counts challenge, I'm just going to go through like the steps quickly. But I didn't say this in the original video, but I just wanted to point this out now. This recipe, I'm going to use ThermoFlow. You need a thickener like ThermoFlow, clear gel, arrowroot powder, tapioca starch, something like that. I've only ever used ThermoFlow. You're only going to use 1/3 of a cup in a big batch of ketchup. But if you're more comfortable using one of the friendly user ones like arrowroot powder or tapioca starch, you could even try a Pomona's pectin. I will try it with arrowroot powder or tapioca starch. When I finish using this, I'm just going to use it up. I really don't eat ketchup. I make it for Frank. It's his potatoes and ketchup are his favorite food. He puts it on everything. So that's just like a little clause I want to tell you. And I just wanted to show you how thick it is, because it's the best ketchup. This is from last year. And this is one he had open in the fridge. And look how thick that is. And because of the thickener you're putting into it, it sticks to your food. Like, it's Heinz, but better. It tastes like Heinz. Your kids aren't going to notice the difference, or your adult. It sticks to your food. I have tried so many ketchup recipes over the year and wasted so many tomatoes. And this one sticks to your food and is just fantastic. And look how thick. It is fantastic. It's my priority now as far as canning my tomatoes. Frank can go through a quart like this in a week, no problem. So I'm starting with 22 pounds of paste tomatoes. I think I have 1 or 2 slicers. If you are using a bit more of slicers, add a few more. Refer to the video because it goes into a step-by-step how to make this. I'm going to chop them up. I prefer to cook them down in my roaster. You cook them how any way you want. And I'll see you back at the next step. Here's 22 pounds of tomatoes. And I will check on it periodically and give them a stir. Now we're going to pass them through a tomato press. I've kept all the juice just because I always keep the tomato juice, but you do need to reserve at least 1 cup for later on. So now we're going to pass them through the press. Here's our beautiful sauce now for ketchup, but we're going to thicken it a little bit more instead of standing at the stove for hours. So again, if you watch my original ketchup video, I'm just going to show you this very briefly. It's just a little technique I developed that I do this to thicken any sauce I make. For ketchup, for pizza sauce, for tomato sauce. I just put it through a sieve, a very fine mesh sieve. I roll it around. All the excess liquid comes out to whatever consistency you like. I always reserve the extra juice or liquid. If I've done it too much, I can always go back and add more. It saves out. I don't have to cook this down now at the stove is my point. I do it until I feel I've removed enough liquid like that. It kind of like rolls around like a little ball. I put it in this pot and then I do it again. Okay, so the recipe says to simmer for 2 to 3 hours to reduce by half. Well, I just reduced it in 5 minutes. This is all the liquid I took off by going through the sieve. Sorry, I'm making noise while I'm talking. By going through the sieve, I reduced it in 5 minutes. That's all the liquid I took off. This is what I'm left with. Now we're going to add a bunch of ingredients to make this be more volume again. So let's continue. I'm so sorry, guys. I didn't realize the camera was on and I already started putting everything into the ketchup. You need 48 ounces of tomato paste. So I've already added that. Then you need 4 cups of vinegar, 2 cups of white sugar, 1 cup of brown sugar, 5 tablespoons of salt. I know it sounds like a lot, but you're making a big batch and you only put a little bit of ketchup on your plate. 1 tablespoon onion powder, half a teaspoon cinnamon, half a teaspoon cloves, half a teaspoon allspice, and half a teaspoon of cayenne. So we just mix all this together, and now we're going to head to the stove and bring it to a simmer. Add the ThermoFlow or whatever thickener you're using, and we're done. We've brought it to a simmer. Now I'm going to prepare the ThermoFlow to go into it. It's very important that your sauce is hot before you add your thickener. So I reserved 1 cup of the juice from when I cooked down the tomatoes. I'm slowly adding a 1/3 cup of the ThermoFlow. I'm just mixing it in. Sorry, you're probably going to see my arms quite a bit because I've got the canner to my left and the camera to my right, and I'm stuck in the middle. So we're just going to slowly add the thickener, stir it around, keeping the ketchup at a simmer the whole time. I'm just going to give that a minute to get it all blended. And then I'm going to use an immersion blender because we like, or Frank likes, a very smooth ketchup, like Heinz. If you want a chunky ketchup, you can leave it just the way it is. And we're done. Look at that beautiful ketchup. And obviously it gets thicker when it's not so hot. Now we're going to put it in the jars. My jars are hot, my ketchup's hot, my canner's hot. So we're going for 1-inch headspace. And it smells like ketchup. Really good ketchup. wipe the rim. Clean lid. Then fingertip tight, and into the canner it goes. It's 10 minutes for pints, 15 minutes for quarts. So I'm canning for 15 minutes at my altitude. Because I didn't have to stand at the stove for 3 hours, I even had the energy to clean up the kitchen while it was canning. Bonus. Do your family a favor and make this ketchup. They will love you so much more. It is the best ketchup, I promise you. I will link the recipe and video and full tutorial on the full ketchup thing in the description below. This was just like a quick recap, but it's one of the best preserving projects I do, and I know how much Frank loves it, so I like to do it even more. So on to something else for tomorrow. Today's preservation project, I don't know if it really counts, but it's really easy. We just harvested our first bed of carrots. Our second bed won't be ready for about 3 more weeks. And I used to always can my carrots the second they came out of the garden. We kept a bit for fresh eating, but for some reason I felt compelled to can them right away. And last year, I didn't can one carrot, and we had a really good harvest. I just put them in a plastic bag, which are becoming very hard to get your hands on. All my carrots are washed really well, and I've dried them off the best I can. I put them in a really good solid plastic bag, and they're going to go into my fridge. I'm going to leave a little bit at the top of the bag open. I'm not putting them in the crisper or anything. If I had room in my crisper, I probably would, but this isn't going to fit into it. And last year, we kept our carrots. We stopped eating them. They ran out before the carrots turned bad, if that makes sense. So we harvested them in August, and we ran out of carrots by the end of February, beginning of March. And they were as fresh as the day we picked them. So I'm going to do the same thing. But this year, I think we're going to have more carrots than last year. So if I find at some point that they're going to get soft or they look like they're starting to turn, I will can them. And I generally dry can my carrots because I don't like canned carrots at all. And obviously, in the meantime, I'm going to be cooking with them. I'm going to be canning beef stew and all that. I'll be using my own carrots for that. So they will be preserved in other ways along the way. But for now, this is how I preserve my carrots. I'm going to put a double knot in the top. I leave a little bit of air, and they're going to go sit in the fridge, and they'll last for months and months and months. I check on them from time to time, but we're always taking from the bag, so we always see how they're doing. So today's challenge was quite the easy one. Hi, everybody. Today's preservation project is very easy, but it's a biggie. Frank went this morning and picked up 2 big bags. I don't know if they're bushel bags or what they're called, but they were, I think they're 5 dozen to a bag of sweet corn. We go to the same farmer every year and get it. I do want to get another bag, but I can't process that much so quickly. Usually I can all my corn. And we love it that way. There's nothing wrong with it. That's how I've always done it. But last year, when it came near the end of canning it all, I got fed up of canning it all. So I just blanched some and froze it. Well, when we started eating some of the frozen ones, oh my gosh, it was just like eating corn on the cob. And I know a lot of people freeze the corn right on the cob with the husks and everything. I've tried that and we really don't like it. So everybody has their own tastes and preferences. We weren't fond of it. But when I blanched it and took it off the cob and froze it and vacuum sealed it, it was like eating corn right off the cob. So this year, I'm going to do the majority of it by blanching it, but I am still going to can some so it's shelf stable. And I also don't have that much room in my freezer. So he's outside still husking it, and I've washed it all as he brings it in. And I don't really have stock pots, so I'm just using a water bath canner and my tall pressure canner. I don't have ice. You're supposed to right away put it in ice water, but I do have very cold well water. So I'll just keep changing the water that they're soaking in to stop the cooking process. I just put 2 big bowls in my sink, and I'll just keep putting the cold water in there until they cool down. I think I would give up an organ to get a gas stove or a better electric stove. I think this one's on its way out. And Frank even noticed it the other day. It just takes forever for even the kettle to come to a boil lately. So doing anything like this is very frustrating. Now, over the years, I've bought different gadgets for corn husking or peeling or whatever you call it at this stage. And I really don't find any of them work. So I might just try my fillet knife. Ooh, it's squirting at me. Hmm. Well, that's not going so well. Oh, that did better. I am so sorry, everyone. I hit some button on the camera, and I know up until right now, all the previous parts of this video are a bit darker and not HD or whatever. I'm very sorry. I don't know what button I hit, but I saw something light up and I hit it back and it's undone now. So my apologies for that. I'm not very techy. So what I've done is I have strainers with the corn everywhere because I have a feeling I don't have a very sophisticated, what's these things called? Vacuum sealer. And this corn is so juicy. I can barely see out my glasses. They are sprayed like crazy. I have a feeling I'm going to have to at least partially uh, flash freeze. So I'm going to try it with one and we'll see how it goes. So I'm trying to get as much juice out as possible. Juice, liquid, whatever. Oh, that's not very much. I'm going to steal some from another. All right, let's see how this goes. I want you to be able to see too. I know I have a wet function, but I still think it's going to be too wet. All right, moist, vacuum, and seal. Whoa! Let me bring the camera here so you can see. Oh my gosh. That is all corn juice. Okay, I think we're going to flash freeze for a little bit. Well, that was worse than I thought. All right, so I'm going to get out a couple of cookie sheets. And they don't need to be completely frozen, but I'm definitely going to flash freeze. That's the worst I've ever seen it. Either this is the juiciest corn ever. I'll wash this all off in a minute. Okay, so these are all going to go into the freezer for a little while, and we will try again. Look, the bag didn't even seal. I just emptied it all. I did this layer really thick because I was getting tired of doing little batches, so now it's harder to break apart. All right. The world of difference. So I'll finish up doing these, and then that's it for today. I'm not up to doing the canning the corn, so that'll be tomorrow's project. I have to break this up. So I'm going to try this thing. If it gets a good enough amount of the corn off. Not really. It does at the bottom, and that's about it. It's wasting a lot at the top. But it sure does go fast. My knight in shining armor came to my rescue, aka Frank. So he's over here taking off the kernels, and I'm going to start filling the jars. I don't know yet if I'm going to need my double stack canner or just a single. I am not a good judge of that. So for raw packing, I'm just filling everything to 1 inch headspace. Then I'll backfill with water and adjust my headspace then. So for now, I'm just going to fill them with corn. Okay, I think I'm going to have more than enough to fill my double stack canner. So I'm putting half a teaspoon of salt into each pint. And I'm just filling with tap water. I have very safe drinking tap water. I'm putting room temperature water. I'll just show you one. And then I'll take my debubbling tool that I still can't find. And I can adjust my headspace just a bit. I'm just under an inch. Hold on, I have to get my lids. Okay, now we're back in business. I'm using vinegar on my paper towel because there's a lot of sticky sugar in the corn. A clean lid. And a clean band. fingertip tight. That's going to go in the canner. And I'll fill up that row, put my rack on, and do another row, and I'll let you know how many we have, and I bet you we have to even do another small short round, or we just eat a lot of it fresh. This corn preservation gave us 17 jars of pressure canned corn and 11 bags of frozen corn. And we got about 2.5 to 3 cups in each package. So that's great because not only do we use it as a side vegetable, I cook with it a lot in other dishes. And that's it for today. I'm really happy with what I got accomplished. After doing a whole bunch of canning projects for preserving, today's is really easy. I'm just going to be doing some seed saving, which I do every single year. It's very hard to write on paper towel. I just have to open up the vegetables and take out the seeds. Put them in a nice dry place. I'm going to start with the cubanelle. And I will take from a few peppers of the same variety along the way, just to cover my basis. I'm getting a good seed batch. And I take from, like if I have different varieties planted, I take from, let's say I have 7 cubanelle plants growing, and there's a different pepper on either end of those 7. I try and take from more of the middle plants. So if there is any cross-pollination, I have less chance of that happening. Now, this is a dragon's egg. I think I kind of let it go to seed because see how big it is? It's not really good for eating. So I'm going to try it. If not, I'm going to let another one on the vine get even a bit bigger. And the rest of this I'll give to the chickens. That's it for this week's preservation for the Three Rivers Every Bit Counts Challenge. I did preserve every day of this week, but that was all I was capable of filming. So I hope you enjoyed it. It's lots of fun. And until we're together again, take care.